Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where you get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Discover data-driven strategies and learn from a wealth of experience so that you can take your retirement to the next level. Now, here's your host. He was once bitten by a harbor seal, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
Okay, we are back on Personal Pension Radio, personalpensionradio.com. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you to everybody actually listening all across the United States. We have just fantastic reviews and fantastic feedback. Really appreciate that. Thank you to all those who are listening out of the country as well, as far away as England and beyond. So really appreciate you being here, and you'll have to connect, say hello. If you're here visiting in California, in Southern California, make sure that you look me up on personalpensionradio.com. Say hello. I would love to meet you in person. So, what is Personal Pension Radio all about? First of all, we are broadcasting live from Mr. Foley's van down by the river, because we had some issues with compliance and our previous broadcast location, so we had to get into the van and stay on the move. So the river is beautiful this time of night. The crickets are chirping. It's outstanding. So what is Personal Pension Radio all about? Well, when you think about years and years ago, and I've said this many times, people used to have pensions. When we thought about retirement, when we thought about working, we used to have a sense of security that we would know that if we worked a certain period of time, we would be able to retire with a pension. Nowadays, pensions are a thing of the past unless you work for the government. And the devaluation of Social Security benefits, as well as just undeniable things that are out there on the horizon, like pushing the Social Security retirement age out to 70. That's been talked about now for a long time, and they've been working on that and pushing it out to 67 and full retirement, and who knows, will full retirement age someday be 80? So when we look at it, we are in a serious retirement income crisis, and without a really solid plan, without an understanding of the income problem that we face as a society, as a country, we won't be able to be prepared, and it is just a perfect storm. So Personal Pension Radio is focused on bringing you that information, bringing you that awareness that there is a retirement income problem. Saving for retirement is only one half of the journey. So now, before I keep going and getting into the pieces for today's show, we're going to have my disclosure. This is my informal disclosure right up front. Please remember, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. I am a certified financial planner professional. Even though I have that qualification and all of the licenses and the certifications and the oversight to be a certified financial planner professional, you really shouldn't act on advice and things that you hear on a podcast, on the radio. You shouldn't act especially on things that you hear from financial entertainers. That's a term that I use that describes people who are not licensed to be giving out financial advice. They're unlicensed financial advice givers, people on the radio and a number of different places. Make sure that you take the time to meet with a qualified, licensed financial advisor to go over your specific situation, because that's exactly what it is. It is unique and specific to you. Make sure that you get that kind of advice, that kind of relationship before you're acting on anything that you might hear on the radio or even on this podcast here today. Now, enough with the disclosure. Let's jump in to the first segment. I like to call it Watch Your Step. Taken from the old idea of when I grew up as a kid back in the woods in Maine and hanging out on farms and just in general being out in the country. You always had to watch where you were stepping. You never know what you might be stepping in depending on where you were. And I use this segment just to keep you aware of things that I see out there in the news. And I had an experience with a client recently. Someone had asked me a question, And I asked them, how did you ultimately come to find that information? Because they were asking me some specific questions related to retirement income, and they said, you guessed it, we did a Google search, and we Google searched retirement income. So we went into a discussion about their specific situation, but what I thought to do today on the podcast was, let's do a retirement income Google search. So that's what I did. I actually plugged in a Google search to see what kind of things would come up. And it's really interesting, and this is why you have to be very careful not to be acting on advice that you find on the internet without it being tailored to your specific situation. So I pulled up 4 of the things that I found on the Google search for retirement income. So now, first thing that I noticed was a New York Times article, and this was a New York Times article asking the question, are guaranteed annuities good for retirement income? Is that a great retirement strategy, or is there something wrong with guaranteed annuity? Basically, that's what the article was about. It went through the good and bad of annuities and income annuities, and it's all good. But the piece that I found that didn't match with the way that we do things here at Personal Pension Radio is that it was simply a product discussion. There was no mention of integrating guaranteed annuity into a bigger plan. There was no mention of integrating guaranteed annuity with the proceeds from 401ks or with life insurance or with real estate or all of the different pieces that go into building a specific retirement income plan. This was an article that was just focused on guaranteed annuity as a product. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, it all depends. It's not a strategy. It's just a product. So then the next one comes up. It was Money Magazine again. CNN Money is got tons of content out there. So the answer on the article or the blog post that I pulled up after searching for retirement income as the search phrase was an article about saving for retirement. And once again, like a broken record, the solution to retirement was to save, and then save some more, and then draw out 3 to 4%. For those of you who are new to the show, that is referencing the 4% rule. That's the 4% rule. And Money Magazine saying draw 3 to 4% of your retirement income assets. And retirement income assets are those assets that have been specifically accumulated with the intent that we're going to draw from them in retirement. That's going to be our income source. So Money says draw 3 to 4%. Well, that's a kind of a wide range there, 3 to 4%. That depends on how long you might live, depends on your type of investments, and of course the article does not go into specific details. The reality is, for some, the 4% recommended draw rate could still leave a 10 to 15% chance of running out of money before you die. That's a pretty significant chance of running out of money. So 4% is just casually mentioned in this article without any discussion of the risk that could come along with a 4% number. So I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, the third article here that came up, one of my favorite people, it was actually Dave Ramsey's website. Now, this is taken directly from Dave Ramsey's his company website, and his article was specifically talking about planning for retirement and income in retirement. And the article suggests that you will accumulate, remember, save. You definitely want to save. But the numbers they use just blow me away. They calculate the numbers accumulating at 12%. 12% annually, year over year, every single year. Those are the numbers that were listed in this particular article. Now, Dave Ramsey is one of the financial entertainers that I've mentioned before, and my goodness, he still references on his website a 12% growth rate. Now, in my opinion, I'm going to try and be very politically correct. This is me now speaking. My opinion, that right there, if I were writing that as a licensed and regulated financial planning professional, I would be sanctioned by pretty much every agency that regulates me. I would be dinged by various different compliance review boards that I would have to make changes. I could not reference that. Okay, so this is a very popular individual with a very large audience suggesting that you can accumulate your savings and earn 12% linear every single year. And then, to add icing on the cake, the article goes on to suggest that you can draw 8% from your retirement assets when you get into retirement. Because you're earning 12, you should easily be able to draw 8. Now, just for the record, when you run a typical investment company income scenario on 8%, you have somewhere in the neighborhood of a 20% chance of success, a 70 to 80% chance that you will run out of money before you die if you begin your retirement with an 8% draw rate. Okay, so when I mentioned earlier in my disclosure, don't take advice or base your personal financial situation or decisions on information that you read on the internet or hear on a podcast or listen to on the television. Make sure that information is specifically tailored to you, because this advice, I mean, we started with New York Times, a basic article about annuities, and I believe annuities are a very good part of a retirement income strategy. They give my mother a great deal of security in her retirement, so I think they're a great part of a plan, but that's what my mom has. She has a strategy, a plan that included guaranteed annuities. We had a plan with her real estate. We had a plan with her pensions. We had a plan, and it's working very well. And then we go on to, you should only take 3 to 4% out. Well, how in the world do we go from 3 to 4% from Money Magazine to Dave Ramsey's 8%? Well, somewhere there has to be something out of whack there. And I think personally that is just crazy talk. That's my opinion though. Okay, just make sure we get that straight. So watch your step with that. We've gone through this multiple times here on the show, but it's always worth repeating that if you do not have a retirement income plan, a strategy in place that enables you to go for the 6 and 7 and 8% draw rate, because that's what we really want. If you don't have a plan in place, you really cannot safely go for that 8%. But our clients, those who have a plan in place, they are on their way to actually being able to draw at those much higher rates, but it requires a strategy that is tailored to you, okay? So section number 2, the one that I want to finish up with, is I want to continue this series that I've been doing, this series of podcast episodes, answering some questions from listeners. And one of the questions, of course, that I had mentioned that I'd covered recently was, what happens after we're done saving? Or after we've done the basics? We've protected the castle, we've started saving cash on hand, we've done all that. What's next? Well, the investment side comes next. That once you've built and protected the castle, and once you've got a strong cash on hand, now it's time to invest, whether that means investment in your 401k or investment in other opportunities. There's a really important piece that should be considered before any rate of return is considered, and that is efficiency. And I've mentioned it before, but I wanted to cover it in a bit more detail in its own specific section again, that efficiency should be the first thought when it comes to an investment. So let me give you an example using that financial entertainer's numbers from the previous segment. And let's say that we were going to put aside $7,500 for 25 years, and we're going to earn 12%. That was, by the way, the number used in the article that was that I referenced just a minute ago. They referenced $7,500 for 25 years, and you earn 12% every single year. Congratulations, it's worth $1.12 million. You're a millionaire. Doesn't that sound fantastic, right? Well, let me ask everybody in the audience, do you get to invest for free? Do you get to invest for free in your 401k, for example? Well, of course not. We don't get to invest for free. Wall Street would be a vacant ghost town if everybody got to invest for free. So what if we earned 12% every single year? What if we lived in a magical world where that could happen, right? But we still have to pay an investment fee. We have to pay a fee to the Wall Street firm. Okay? So what I did was I took that same $7,500 and we ran it at 11%, which represents a 1% fee. So that exact same 1% now difference, okay, $7,500 at 11% for 25 years is $952,000. So over the course of 25 years, the inefficiency of the fee cost $167,000. That 1% cost $167,000. So when we talk about efficiency in an investment, it's important to think of it like the sniper in the woods. You know, it's kind of a harsh example that really came to me when I was watching a history special with my daughter when she was younger, and she was having to study this particular period of time in history and the war, and there was a reference to soldiers having been killed by snipers. And it really struck me as I considered the financial world that the fees which are charged by investment companies, fair enough, by the way, everybody needs to, get paid for the work they do, and an investment company is no different. But as long as there's an equivalent amount of value that comes for it, I guess I should say that. But back to the analogy, if you will. The sniper in the woods is the most dangerous enemy because it's the one you're not paying attention to. It's the one you don't see. And fees in investments are the sniper, if you will. So in the example from the financial entertainer discussion previously, a 1% fee is a $167,000 sniper. That is a lot of money. That takes this example from 1.1 million to well below $1 million. Okay? The key here is to remember that the fee is actually a very substantial cost. Let me give you an example. Somebody years ago asked me this question. They said, what's the difference between 6% and 8%? And everybody, you're driving in your car, running down the road, whatever you're doing, listening to the podcast, the first thing that popped into your head, of course, was 2%. The difference between 6% and 8% is 2%, right? Well, yes and no. The reality is, in order to go from 6% to 8%, you actually have to have a 33% increase. So that 2% increase is actually a 33% rise. Okay? So when we take that a little further and realize that 33%, my goodness, right? When somebody comes and says, oh, we're going to get an 8% rate of return, and another person says, oh, I probably can get a 6%. You have to really stop and think about that for a second. How in the world is that other person going to get you a 33% higher rate of return, right? It's really not just the difference between 6 and 8 is 2. It's actually a 33% differential, okay? So this is a great place to mention, if you have a 401k or if you have an investment account already, this is an excellent place that if you're interested, I'd be happy to do this for you. We do it all the time. We will do a 401k review and a comparison for you on your fees to make sure that you are not missing the inefficiencies that are in your personal 401k or your investment accounts. Okay, so you can actually contact us through Personal Pension Radio. If you want to go through this in more detail, tailored specifically to you, I would encourage you to do that, because I'll give you an example here. That if we use more of a real-world example and not the pie-in-the-sky outlandish example that was referenced, up there by our friend above, in the first segment. Let's use a 401k example. Let's use an example where somebody can actually save maximum $18,000 a year, let's say, in a 401k. And let's say they did it for 25 years. I understand, I couldn't possibly do that, or nobody does that. Well, nobody earns 12% a year either, so bear with me. Let's just use more of a real-world example. Let's just say that you could maximize your 401k at $18,000 a year for 25 years. So this is real numbers, and to be fair, I'm not going to go to 12%. I'm going to say, what if you earned 7.5%? 7.5%, it turns out that you have $1.3 million. All right, great. Now, what if you had a 0.5% fee? Just 0.5% fee. Okay, remember, 7.5% gave you $1.3 million. 7% after the fee is $1.2 million. It's about a $96,000 expense. So that 0.5% over the course of your saving years could cost nearly $100,000. So what I'm trying to say, of course, is your 401k is a very valuable savings tool, but the inefficiencies that you are not paying attention to, and most people don't, that you're not paying attention to, can cost you literally tens of thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands of dollars. And I've run 401k comparisons and investment account comparisons for folks many times, where we look at the collection of investment options that are available, and lo and behold, they're invested in 5-6 different investments that are inside their 401k. And I ask why? Why are you invested in 5-6 different mutual funds, for example? Almost every time the answer is, well, diversification. I thought I would be diversified. So what we'll do when we do a comparison is we will put them all in a comparison chart where we overlay them and we compare their performance, we compare the fees, and I can't tell you, I don't remember the last time that I didn't run such a comparison and we ended up finding 20, 30%, 40% reductions in fees. It could easily cut 20, 30, 40% in expenses out of the 401k because of the inefficiencies that are just sitting there that nobody's paying attention to. Okay? So if you'd like, contact us on personalpensionradio.com. let's do that together. Let's go through a specific analysis of your 401k. Be happy to go through and spend some time with you, helping you understand what you have, helping you understand your specific situation. So, as we close here, think about these inefficiencies in your financial life. Okay, be aware of them. Taxes is obviously the big one. Taxes is the biggest inefficiency that we all face. It's that one big thing that erodes our bank account and our wealth. There are many different ways that you can manage the taxes. Okay. Now, fees, we just covered that. Fees are a big one. Okay, fees on your 401k, fees on your investment account, fees buying any number of things. When you get a mortgage, when you buy or sell a house, whatever it is, pay close attention to the fees, because those eroding factors will shave thousands of dollars potentially out of your life in the long run. How about this one? A new car purchase. What an enormous inefficiency. It's the one place you can guarantee yourself a 20-30% loss in the matter of an hour. Really, I mean, it's unbelievable how much money you lose when you drive a new car off the lot. It's just a guaranteed 30% loss. And if you had that kind of a loss in your 401k, I mean, really, what would you do? You'd be upset. You'd be mad. And yet, so many people drive into a brand new car lot, drive away with the car, and lose 20%, 30% as soon as they turn out the driveway. Okay, so a new car, it's all fun and all good, but it is a huge inefficiency. Okay, and those of you who do buy new cars, thank you so much. My wife likes to say we appreciate you taking one for the team, because we look forward to possibly buying your car 2 or 3 years later after you've eaten up all the depreciation for us. So we really appreciate that. How about a new home purchase? New home purchase, a brand new built home, because we're going through that right now where we're selling our home and we're moving into an older home. But the new home purchase is filled with inefficiencies, because inevitably there's many things that have to be done. Landscaping and appliances and various things like that are huge expenses, just fraught with inefficiencies. Whereas an existing home that might have many of those upgrades already built and included, maybe you've saved a good deal of inefficiency there. Speaking of appliances, in the process of selling our home here, someone who came to look at our home asked if they could keep the refrigerator. Right? What an interesting request, and we really thought about it and realized that I have actually, when I purchased the appliances after I rebuilt the kitchen, when I actually purchased the appliances, I purchased all of them on Craigslist. So I was able to find all of the stainless steel, high-end, beautiful appliances that are in my kitchen. All of them cost less together, all 4 of them cost less than the retail price of my refrigerator. Okay, so if you can imagine that, we got all of my high-end appliances in my kitchen for less money than the retail price of the fridge. So new appliance purchases, oh my gosh, Craigslist and eBay are a gold mine of places that you can save the inefficiencies of that new purchase. And even right down to things like school books. You know, bless my daughter's heart, she's out there at college in freshman year, and she's buying school books when she needs them, and buying them for half price from other kids on campus, because she's buying them on Craigslist and on various different posting boards. So really look for the inefficiencies out there in everything, from even a pair of shoes to, like I said, taxes, fees, new cars, appliances. Stop and look at that purchase and evaluate it from a different point of view. Are there inefficiencies built in that you could avoid with a little change of direction? And most of the time, you will find them. So now, wrapping it up, don't miss the Optimizing Retirement Income report that we have available at Personal Pension Radio. It's my opinion that it's one of the most comprehensive, one of the best retirement income educations you can ever get. It is just so comprehensive. You really need to get over to Personal Pension Radio, request that, download it. Also, the offer stands. If you want to review your 401k, your fees, if you want to review your investment accounts, your fees, your diversification or not, request contact, get in touch. If not with me, get in touch with your qualified advisor, and very much look forward to talking to you again. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget to get over to iTunes, share it with your friends, because the stuff that you learn here, your friends probably need to know as well. So be their hero. It's almost Christmas time coming up as we're recording this. It's coming up in a few months. Be their hero. Share it with your friends. Share it with your kids. Share it with people you care about. Really appreciate y'all. Have a great one.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you're there, we'd appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening.